Welcome to Famous People, English Stories. Ready to level up your English? Here we learn through stories slow, clear, and fun. Listen, relax, and enjoy the journey.
Introduction. Today's story is about a man who surprised the world. He was not born a politician. He was a comedian, an actor, a TV star. And yet, he became the president of Ukraine. His name is Volodymyr Zelensky. This is the story of how a boy from a small city became a symbol of strength for his country and for the whole world. Let's begin. Chapter 1: From Comedian to President. Volodymyr Zelensky was born on January 25, 1978, in a city called Kryvyi Rih in central Ukraine. At that time, Ukraine was still part of the Soviet Union. His father was a professor, and his mother worked as an engineer. They were a normal, hard-working family. Zelensky grew up speaking Russian at home. Many people in eastern Ukraine speak Russian. But he also learned Ukrainian at school. Later, he would speak both languages well, and that helped him connect with many people across the country. As a child, Volodymyr was smart and full of energy. He liked reading books and watching movies. He was also funny. He had a special gift: he could make people laugh. But he did not dream of becoming a politician. His dream was different. He wanted to act. When he was a teenager, he joined a group called KVN. It was a popular comedy competition across the former Soviet Union. Zelensky and his friends wrote jokes, acted in funny sketches, and competed with other teams. They were so good that they won national prizes. His comedy career had begun. After high school, Zelensky studied law at a university. But he never worked as a lawyer. His heart was in show business. He started a comedy team called Kvartal 95. It became one of the most famous entertainment companies in Ukraine. They made shows, movies, and TV series. One of those shows would change Zelensky's life forever. In 2015, Kvartal 95 created a TV series called Servant of the People. In this show, Zelensky played an ordinary school teacher who becomes the president of Ukraine after a video of him giving a passionate speech goes viral. The show was funny, but also serious. It showed problems in the country: corruption, poverty, and weak leadership. People loved it. But something unexpected happened. The character he played, an honest, brave, and kind man, became more than just a role. People began to ask, what if this funny man from TV could be a real leader? What if Zelensky could be president, not just on screen, but in real life? Zelensky had never been in politics. He had no political experience. But in 2018, he made a big decision. He announced he would run for president of Ukraine. Many people laughed at him. They said, "How can a comedian run a country?" But others believed in him. They were tired of corruption and old politicians. They wanted something new. They wanted hope. Zelensky started his campaign with simple messages. He promised to fight corruption. He promised to bring peace to eastern Ukraine. He promised to listen to the people. And slowly, more and more Ukrainians started to support him. He didn't use many traditional campaign tools. Instead, he used social media. He talked to people through videos. He was modern. He was young. He spoke directly and simply. And people liked that. In April 2019, the results came in. Zelensky won the election by a huge number. More than 70% of voters chose him. It was one of the biggest victories in Ukrainian history. A comedian had become president. But this was only the beginning. Zelensky now had to prove that he could lead, not just entertain. That he could unite a country, not just make it laugh. The world watched closely. And so did Ukraine. What would happen next? Stay with us. In the next chapter, we'll explore Zelensky's first years as president, the challenges he faced, and how the world saw this unusual leader. Chapter 2: Leading in Peace, Preparing for War. Volodymyr Zelensky was now president of Ukraine. The man who once made people laugh on TV was now leading a country of more than 40 million people. It was April 2019. His job was just beginning. At first, people were curious. Could he really do it? Could a comedian lead a country? Zelensky entered office with big dreams. He wanted to end corruption. He wanted to make life better for ordinary people. And, most of all, he wanted peace. For many years, Ukraine had been at war in its eastern region. Russian-backed fighters controlled parts of Donetsk and Luhansk. Thousands of people had died. Zelensky promised to stop the fighting. He said he would talk to everyone, Russia, Europe, the US, to find a peaceful solution. At first, people believed he might succeed. In 2019, just months after becoming president, Zelensky met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Paris. The two leaders spoke. They shook hands. They agreed to exchange prisoners. It was a small step, but it gave people hope. But soon, things got harder. The fighting in eastern Ukraine didn't stop. There were fewer battles, but no peace. And at home, Zelensky faced new problems. Some politicians did not want change. Some people in power tried to block his reforms. Corruption was still strong. Zelensky was not part of the political system. That helped him win the election. But it also made it harder for him to pass new laws. Still, he didn't give up. He spoke directly to the people in his usual way, through videos, social media, and TV. He stayed popular with many Ukrainians. They liked that he spoke clearly. That he seemed honest. That he still acted like one of them. Then, in early 2020, a new crisis hit, COVID-19. Like every country, Ukraine was not ready. Hospitals were weak. Medical workers didn't have enough equipment. People were scared. Businesses closed. The economy slowed down. Zelensky had to act fast. He ordered lockdowns. He spoke to the nation in calm, serious tones. He tried to bring the country together. It was a hard time for Ukraine, but Zelensky stayed strong. He kept speaking with hope. Behind the scenes, something else was happening. Russia was watching. Since 2014, Russia had taken Crimea and helped fighters in eastern Ukraine. But now, it began to move troops closer to Ukraine's border. The number of soldiers grew. Tanks, planes, weapons, more and more came. At first, no one knew what to think. Was it just a threat? Was it a test? Zelensky stayed calm, but he was worried. He asked for help from the West, especially from NATO and the European Union. He said, "We want peace, but we are not afraid to defend ourselves." Still, many people outside Ukraine didn't believe a full invasion would happen. Even in Ukraine, some hoped it was only pressure. But Zelensky was preparing. Quietly, he worked with his army. He made plans. He asked for weapons. And he tried to keep the country calm. In 2021 and early 2022, the warnings became louder. Intelligence reports said that Russia might attack. Zelensky faced a difficult choice. Should he speak openly and risk panic? Or should he stay quiet and avoid fear? He chose to be calm. He told the people, "Don't panic. Stay strong. We are ready." And then, the unthinkable happened. On February 24, 2022, the sky over Ukraine changed. Explosions rocked cities across the country. Russian missiles hit airports, military bases, and even homes. Russia had begun a full invasion of Ukraine. The world watched in shock. Many thought the Ukrainian government would collapse. That Zelensky would run away. That Kiev would fall in days. But they were wrong. Zelensky stayed. He did not hide. He did not leave. He stood in the capital, Kiev, and recorded a video with his team. He said, "I am here. We are all here. We are defending our independence." In one moment, everything changed. Zelensky was no longer just a president. He became a symbol of courage, of resistance, of hope. The world listened. And the world began to help. This was the beginning of a new chapter, not just for Ukraine, but for the world. In the next part, we'll follow how Zelensky led his nation during war, spoke to world leaders, and became one of the most recognized faces of our time. Chapter 3: A wartime leader on the world stage. When Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, many people around the world expected Ukraine to fall quickly. They thought the president would flee. They thought the capital city, Kiev, would be captured in days. They were wrong. Volodymyr Zelensky did not run. He stayed. Wearing a simple green t-shirt and speaking directly into the camera, he made a video from the center of Kiev. His words were short but powerful. "I'm here. We are all here. We are in Kiev. We are defending Ukraine." That moment became a turning point, not just for Ukraine, but for the whole world. People everywhere started to see Zelensky in a new way. He was not just a former actor. He was not just a new politician. He was a real leader in a time of war. Every day, Zelensky worked non-stop. He met with his military leaders. He made emergency decisions. He walked the streets of Kiev with his soldiers. And he spoke to the world. He gave powerful speeches, sometimes from a dark room, sometimes from the ruins of bombed-out buildings. His voice was clear. His message was simple: Ukraine is fighting for its survival. We are not asking others to fight for us. We only ask for support. Zelensky began speaking to parliaments and congresses all over the world, from the US to the UK, from Germany to Japan. He asked for weapons. He asked for sanctions against Russia. He asked for unity. He reminded leaders of history. In the U.S. Congress, he spoke about 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. In the UK Parliament, he quoted Winston Churchill. Each speech was crafted with care. Each speech moved people. His words reached hearts. And it worked. Slowly, the world responded. Countries sent weapons, food, money, and medical help. The European Union opened its doors to millions of Ukrainian refugees. The United States sent advanced weapons. People in every part of the world flew Ukrainian flags. Ukraine had become a global symbol of resistance. And Zelensky was at the center. At home, life was incredibly hard. Cities were destroyed. Families were torn apart. Millions of people left their homes. But Zelensky continued to lead. He visited wounded soldiers in hospitals. He stood beside grieving families. He thanked volunteers. And he always reminded his people to believe. One night, as missiles fell on Kiev, Zelensky stood outside again. "We will not break," he said. "We are fighting for our freedom. For our future. For our children." His strength inspired people. Even in war, Zelensky remained a communicator. He used his background in acting and media to speak directly, simply, and emotionally. He understood how to reach people, how to make them care. And he used those skills to build support. But the war was long and brutal. Russian forces attacked not just military targets, but also civilian areas, schools, hospitals, apartment buildings. There were reports of terrible war crimes, mass graves, torture, murder of innocent people. Zelensky did not hide these horrors. He showed them to the world. He invited journalists. He shared images. He said, "This is not just a war against Ukraine. This is a war against humanity." Meanwhile, Ukraine's military began to fight back. With international support, they pushed Russian forces out of key areas. They defended Kiev. They retook land in the east and south. The war was far from over, but Ukraine was not giving up. And neither was its president. Zelensky's life had changed forever. He no longer lived a normal life. He slept in underground bunkers. He was constantly surrounded by security. But he kept working, every hour, every day. The world gave him many awards. Magazines put him on their covers. Time named him Person of the Year. But Zelensky said, "I don't need awards. I just want peace." Still, he accepted the attention. Not for himself, but for Ukraine. "If the world is looking at me," he said, "they are looking at Ukraine. That means they care." By 2023, Zelensky had become one of the most famous people in the world. But he remained focused. The war was still going. People were still suffering. And Ukraine still needed help. He continued to travel, meeting leaders, speaking at conferences, building alliances. Wherever he went, he carried the voice of his country. He said, "I am not fighting alone. All of Ukraine is fighting. The soldiers, the farmers, the doctors, the children, everyone. And we will not stop until we win." In the next chapter, we will see how Zelensky's leadership changed not only Ukraine, but the global conversation about courage, democracy, and the future of freedom. Chapter 4: The Symbol of Freedom. By 2023, Volodymyr Zelensky was no longer just the president of Ukraine. He had become something more, a symbol. A symbol of courage, of resistance, of freedom. His face was seen on posters in New York, murals in Paris, banners in Tokyo. But behind that image was a man carrying an enormous burden, the fate of a nation at war. Zelensky never planned to be a wartime leader. He had no military training, no experience in defense. But when the invasion began, he learned quickly. He listened to his generals, studied the maps, asked questions. He wanted to understand every part of the war, not just to fight it, but to lead it. He stayed close to his people. He knew their pain. In the towns that were bombed, he walked through rubble and listened to survivors. In the hospitals, he held hands with wounded soldiers. In secret meetings, he spoke to spies and commanders. Every moment, he was there. Present. Visible. Strong. Many leaders in history have disappeared in moments of danger. They have gone into hiding or fled abroad. But Zelensky did the opposite. He stepped into the light. He showed his people that he was with them. And they followed him. He also understood the power of symbols. He stopped wearing suits. Instead, he dressed like his soldiers, in army green. His beard grew out. His face became more serious, more tired, but also more determined. He wanted the world to see what war looked like. Not clean. Not polished. Real. He gave interviews to journalists from around the globe. He answered every question with honesty and emotion. When asked if he was afraid, he said, "Of course. I'm human. But courage is doing what is right, even when you're afraid." That idea, courage in the face of fear, became the message of Ukraine. And slowly, the world responded. Countries that once hesitated began to send more weapons, more aid, more support. The United States delivered rocket systems. Europe gave tanks. Canada, Australia, South Korea, and others joined in. The world was uniting, because one man made it impossible to look away. Still, Zelensky never asked for foreign troops. He said, "This is our war. We will fight it. But we need the tools." And the world gave them. But there was more than just war. Zelensky also had to lead a country trying to survive every day. He kept schools open, online or underground. He rebuilt electricity after bombings. He worked with mayors to keep cities running. Life did not stop in Ukraine. It adapted. And Zelensky kept dreaming of peace. He often said, "We don't want to live forever in war. We want to live in dignity, with our families, in our homes, in our land." At international meetings, he presented his peace plan. It included real justice for war crimes, a return of Ukraine's occupied territories, and full respect for Ukraine's borders. It was not just a wish, it was a clear vision. Many leaders around the world listened. Some agreed. Others said it was too hard. But Zelensky did not bend. He said, "If we give up a part of our land, we open the door for others to lose theirs. Peace without justice is not real peace." His words echoed across the world. At the same time, Zelensky had to protect democracy at home. During the war, there was always the danger of strong leaders becoming dictators. But he did not take more power than needed. Elections were delayed only because of safety, not ambition. Journalists were still free. Opposition voices could still speak. It was a war, but democracy was alive. This balance, between strength and freedom, became Zelensky's true leadership. He reminded people what freedom means. It is not just the right to speak. It is the right to live without fear. The right to build a future. The right to choose your leaders, your language, your dreams. And through all of this, he kept his sense of humor. He made small jokes, smiled at children, hugged elderly women. He showed that even in the darkest times, light could still shine. By 2024, Ukraine was still fighting. The war was not over. The losses were heavy. But the spirit was unbroken. Zelensky said, "We may be tired, but we are not weak. We may suffer, but we are not defeated." In that, he captured the heart of a nation. He became more than a leader. He became a symbol of freedom, not just for Ukraine, but for the world. In the final chapter, we'll explore the legacy of Volodymyr Zelensky, what the future may hold, and what we can all learn from his story. Chapter 5: Legacy and Lessons. The story of Volodymyr Zelensky is still being written. The war in Ukraine is not yet over. Peace has not fully returned. Cities are still being rebuilt. Soldiers are still on the front lines. But even as the world waits to see how it all ends, one thing is already clear: Zelensky's legacy will last for generations. When he became president in 2019, many people laughed. They said, "He's a comedian. What does he know about running a country?" But now, those same people speak of him with respect, even awe. Not because he is perfect. Not because he never makes mistakes. But because when the world fell apart, he stood up. Zelensky's legacy is not just about war. It is about character. He showed that real leadership is not about power, it is about responsibility. It's not about shouting, it's about listening. And it's not about looking strong, it's about being strong when it matters most. He gave people hope when they felt hopeless. He gave people courage when they felt afraid. And he gave the world a lesson, that even in the darkest moments, humanity can shine. What will happen next? No one knows for sure. Maybe peace will come soon. Maybe it will take longer. Maybe Zelensky will lead Ukraine into the European Union. Maybe he will help rebuild his country into something even stronger than before. Or maybe he will step aside one day and return to a quiet life. But whatever happens, history will remember him. He will be remembered as the man who chose to stay. The man who stood in the street while bombs fell from the sky. The man who said, "I don't need a ride. I need ammunition." The man who helped the world see that freedom is not free, but it is worth fighting for. There are many lessons we can learn from his story. First, ordinary people can do extraordinary things. Zelensky was not a general. He was not a famous writer or philosopher. He was an actor, a father, a man with a sense of humor. But when the time came, he stepped forward. And he rose to the moment. Second, words matter. Zelensky understood the power of communication. He knew how to speak to the heart. In every speech, in every message, he didn't just give information, he gave inspiration. He reminded people why they fight, why they care, why they hope. Third, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to act in spite of it. Zelensky said many times, "Yes, I'm afraid. But my people are more afraid. And I must be strong for them." And fourth, leadership is about service. Zelensky did not seek glory. He sought unity. He did not chase power. He earned trust. He worked for his people, not above them, but beside them. His story is not just about Ukraine. It's about all of us. It's about what we do when we are tested. It's about how we stand when the world pushes us down. It's about the light we can carry, even in the storm. So what can you take from this story? If you're learning English, let Zelensky's story show you that language is more than grammar, it's connection. It's voice. It's purpose. And if you're thinking about your own life, your own dreams, your own fears, remember this. You don't need to be perfect to be brave. You don't need to be powerful to lead. You just need to care deeply, act honestly, and never stop believing in what is right. This has been the story of Volodymyr Zelensky, a man who became a president, and then a leader, and then a symbol. For Ukraine. For freedom. For all of us. Thank you for joining us on Famous People, English Stories. We hope you learned, felt, and grew. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep believing in the power of stories.